Thank you, everybody. Gracious good afternoon. I'd like to thank you for joining us in this very brief presentation. I promise not to keep you more than 4 or 5 hours showing you slides. Everybody's chuckling. Actually, what I wanted to do is take a few minutes and walk you through NFPA. One of the underlining themes of today's meeting, today's event, is NFPA and how it protects the firefighter. What we're trying to do, ladies and gentlemen, is assure that the person that is fighting the fire gets to go home to their family. My name is Bill Dickson. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Bauer Compressors Incorporated. I'm also the task group chairperson for NFPA 1989. That task group, their goal and operation is to write standards for high pressure breathing air compressors. We also work with NFPA 1901 or 1900. And again, the goal of that standard, ladies and gentlemen, is to make sure that the firefighter gets to go home. Why are we here? The reason we're here is not only to educate you on what protection is for the firefighter, but as well how to analyze the standard correctly. Can you play it again? You drive. Yep, ready to rock and roll. What you're seeing right now is a self-contained breathing apparatus rupturing. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a 9-liter cylinder on the back of a firefighter. And if it ruptures, guess what? That firefighter does not get to go home that evening, okay? So what we try to do as a task group is write a standard that protects the firefighter in the event of that rupture so they can go home. There's 2 standards in the marketplace that write the standard for testing a first article to assure that guy gets to go home or that young lady gets to go home. You've got NFPA 1901. Then you also have a draft, which is draft 2024, which is 1900. Within both of those standards, ladies and gentlemen, are sections that tell the manufacturer of the fill station what they have to do for testing. The manufacturer of the self-contained breathing apparatus fill station cannot proof test that fill station. The manufacturer has to give the fill station to a third-party lab. In the upper right-hand corner, 23.9.6.1 tells the testing laboratory what size SCBA they need to use. As I indicated a moment ago, that is a 9-liter SCBA cylinder. It is a 379 bar SCBA cylinder. It is also a composite cylinder. Composite meaning it is manufactured around an aluminum liner of carbon fiber or fiberglass. Very, very destructive cylinder. Additionally, during the testing protocol, that fill station has to be able to not only contain the fragments of the ruptured SCBA, but if the fill station is accommodating multiple SCBAs, that fill station has to be tested with multiple SCBAs. The adjacent SCBA, meaning the cylinder that is ruptured, the cylinders that are next to it have to remain intact. They cannot rupture. All of the testing has to be witnessed. That witnessing, again, has to be by a third party. That's the only way you're going to get an impartial jury to analyze and approve that fill station. What we have seen as a manufacturer is a lot of false documents in the marketplace. False meaning manufacturers will falsify with Adobe Acrobat documentation that they will present to a customer by recognized agencies saying, hey, my fill station has been independently tested, and here's the document. Everybody knows who UL is. World-renowned, world-recognized organization. This is a PDF document. As you can see in the left-hand margin, it's not correct. Correct meaning they didn't even copy the language into the document correctly. Another section on this document, ladies and gentlemen, is when they talk about certifying to the standard, they have not drilled into the standard on what section it means. This document is false. Another aspect is the manufacturer of the fill station has to provide photographic evidence. Well, in the standard, as I mentioned a moment ago, when the fill station, in the case of this photo, is designed for 3 SCBA cylinders, they're supposed to be testing the fill station with 3 cylinders. You don't see 3 cylinders in this fill station photo. You also do not see where the adjacent SCBA cylinders are being protected. What you are seeing is a totally destroyed fill station that does not meet NFPA. It does not. It has not protected the adjacent cylinders. It is not protecting the operator from any fragmentation that might be coming out of that. Another aspect of the NFPA code, as I mentioned initially, is that the SCBA cylinders have to be composite. Have to be composite. In the case of this fill station test, they used an aluminum cylinder. Again, not meeting the standard. 1852, standard on selection, care, maintenance of SCBA cylinders. Again, we talk about the SCBA being filled in a containment fill station. The reason I bring this standard up is it also talks about how quickly to fill the SCBA cylinder. As a manufacturer of compressor systems, I cannot tell you how often I get approached by people saying, how fast can I fill my SCBA? I can fill my SCBA in less than a second, or your SCBA in less than a second. The problem is, as a manufacturer of compressors, I don't make the SCBA cylinder. I can't tell you how quickly to fill it. The manufacturer of that SCBA cylinder has to tell you how quickly to fill it. In the case of your department, if you are uncertain and you want to regulate the flow of air going into that SCBA, the manufacturer can do that with restricted orifices, flow fuses, anything to take that out of the operator's hands. This particular section talks again about filling within a containment fill station. Again, you continually see that repetitively commented about, if you will. We talk about air testing. That's within NFPA 1989. By code, ladies and gentlemen, the fire department is supposed to be getting their air tested once a quarter. Once a quarter. That assures the people that are breathing off the stored air that they're getting quality air. And oh, by the way, the laboratory testing that should be certified or accredited. Another issue is maintenance of the compressor system. Most people think the compressor system is just a device that you put up against the wall, you turn it on, you turn it off, it never needs to be maintained. That is an inaccurate thing. What we like to see is the compressor run at least an hour a week. That exercises the compressor, allows the automatic condensate drain, which removes oil and water from the airstream. It allows that to cycle a couple times a week. And it also, again, talks about changing out the cartridges. On the right-hand side of the screen, section 7.6, is records. Records. Most people, as I mentioned a moment ago, treat the compressor system like it's a toy. They never maintain it. They don't keep any records of it. The problem with that is if you have a situation in the department, gosh forbid, you have a fatality. If you're not keeping records, you have nothing to go back on. By keeping records, it allows you to keep track of when the unit was maintained. NFPA even drills down to records on the SCBA fill, meaning who the individual was, when it was filled, where it was filled, all of that. So if there is an issue with the air that comes out of that SCBA, it allows the department to keep track of that. And that's it. Thank you very much for your time. I certainly appreciate it. If you have any questions, come visit with me. I'll be happy to spend time with you.
Cool. Sorry. Cool.